Have you ever considered the possibility that your well-meaning efforts to help others could be causing more harm than good? Altruism, the selfless act of helping others, is generally perceived as a noble virtue. A world where kindness and generosity are the norm is an ideal we all strive for. But have you ever paused to consider the flip side of this coin? That perhaps in your well-intentioned efforts to assist, you could be inadvertently causing harm? It's a thought that seems almost contradictory to our understanding of altruism. Yet it's a reality we cannot ignore. Just like a coin, every action has two sides. In the case of altruism, while one side represents the light of benevolence, the other side, often overlooked, embodies the shadow of unintended consequences. This shadow side can manifest in numerous subtle and surprising ways, potentially leading to more harm than good. Stay tuned as we dive into the 11 surprising ways that helping others can harm you. First on our list is the helper's high. You've likely felt it before, that warm glow that spreads through you after a good deed. It's a kind of emotional uplift, a burst of happiness that comes from helping others. But like any high, it's temporary. It's a fleeting feeling, and herein lies the trap. Because it feels so good, we can become hooked, constantly seeking out that next act of kindness to keep the high going. It's a noble pursuit, but one that can lead us down a dangerous path. When we're constantly chasing that helper's high, we might start neglecting our own needs. We can become so focused on others that we lose sight of ourselves. This isn't to say that helping others is bad, far from it. But it's a delicate balance. We need to ensure we're not sacrificing our own well-being in the process. Helping others should not become a substitute for self-care. Next, let's talk about the martyr syndrome. This term denotes a tendency to self-sacrifice in an unhealthy manner, often in an attempt to help others. It's akin to constantly putting others' needs before your own, to the point where it becomes detrimental to your well-being. The martyr syndrome isn't about the nobility of sacrifice, but rather the imbalance it can create in our lives. Those with martyr syndrome may find themselves feeling resentful even while they continue to give. They may feel unappreciated, overlooked, or taken advantage of. This can lead to emotional exhaustion, or what we commonly refer to as burnout. It's a cycle that feeds on itself, perpetuating a state of constant depletion. The key here is balance. Helping others is certainly commendable, but not at the expense of your own health and happiness. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. The third surprising way is the savior complex. This is driven by an overwhelming urge to rescue others, often at the cost of our own well-being. It's like being a firefighter in a world ablaze, but the flames never cease. This can breed unhealthy dynamics in relationships, fostering dependency and resentment. Imagine the disillusionment when those we try to save don't want our help, or don't change in ways we expect. It's important to remember, not everyone wants or needs to be saved. Fourthly, we have enabling harmful behavior. Picture this. In your quest to help, you inadvertently allow destructive habits to flourish. By rushing to rescue, you may prevent individuals from facing the repercussions of their actions, thus enabling their harmful behavior. This is not a mark of true assistance. Real help fosters growth and promotes responsibility. It's not about saving someone from the storm, but teaching them how to weather it. Remember, helping should not mean shielding others from reality. Fifth on our list is dependence and lack of growth. You see, when we constantly step in to assist, we may inadvertently foster a dependence. It's like always cutting the food for a child who's learning to use a knife. Yes, it's safer and quicker in the short term, but in the long term, it hinders their growth and self-reliance. They never learn to do it themselves. In the same way, excessive help can rob people of the chance to grow. Helping should empower, not cripple. Next, we have the burden of responsibility. Picture this, you're the Atlas, shouldering the world of others' troubles. It's a heavy load, isn't it? This can lead to an overwhelming amount of stress. You might feel the need to constantly solve problems that aren't even yours. It's like a never-ending maze of worry and anxiety. But here's the hard truth. You can't solve everyone's problems. You're human after all. Remember, you are not responsible for other people's happiness. Eighth is breach of boundaries. When we extend our hand to help, we sometimes unintentionally trespass into someone's personal space. This can lead to discomfort for both parties involved. Imagine a scenario where your well-intentioned advice is perceived as an intrusion, creating resentment. This can strain relationships, leaving a bitter taste. Remember, every individual has a personal boundary, a space they consider sacred and private. It's essential to tread carefully, respecting these boundaries, even in our quest to help. Respect for personal boundaries is crucial. Ninth on our list is neglect of self. When we're constantly aiding others, we can inadvertently overlook our own needs and well-being. It's like trying to fill cups with a pitcher that's running dry. We may find ourselves drained, both physically and emotionally, leaving little to no energy for self-care. The irony is, to truly help others, we must first be in a healthy state ourselves. Remember, it's not selfish to prioritize your own health and happiness. Self-care is not selfish. 10th, we have unhealthy expectations. You see, when you're always there to lend a hand, it can create a pattern. People might start expecting your unwavering support, and this can lead to disappointment if you're unable to meet these inflated expectations. It's like setting a trap for yourself that strains relationships, making them a breeding ground for resentment. It's important to remember that your role isn't to be everyone's personal superhero. Helping should be a choice, not an expectation. Lastly, we have loss of authenticity. When we constantly prioritize others' needs over our own, we risk losing touch with our true selves. It's like we're on a stage, always playing a role, never being our authentic selves. We forget our own needs, desires and dreams. We become a mirror reflecting others, our identity dissolving in the process. Remember, it's important to help, but not at the cost of losing your authenticity. Stay true to yourself even as you help others. In conclusion, helping others is a noble endeavor, but it's important to be aware of its potential pitfalls. We've journeyed through the unseen consequences of altruism, from the intoxicating helper's high to the martyr syndrome, where self-sacrifice becomes destructive. We've explored the savior complex and how it can lead to enabling harmful behavior. We've also delved into the issues of fostering dependence and stifling growth, as well as the heavy burden of responsibility that can come with constant helping. We've treaded the slippery slope of breached boundaries, the neglect of self that often follows, and the unhealthy expectations that can be birthed from a constant need to assist others. And finally, we discussed the tragic loss of authenticity that can ensue when one is always putting others before oneself. Remember, the best way to help others is by first helping yourself. After all, you can't pour from an empty cup. Be mindful, be balanced, and most importantly, be kind to yourself.